Gary, you've been very consistent for a number of years now that there needs to be a reform on the football side of Manchester United above the manager. Recruitment again has cropped up this transfer window. Ed Woodward is like the face of it. What are they doing wrong in the transfer windows? Like, why are they not getting their business done? What needs to happen above Solskjaer, for instance? And director of football, it seemed they were talking to people last year and were intent on
Yeah.
filling that position, and now that's gone cold. It's hard to decipher what's going on.
It's look, over 10 years since Sir Alex left, or was it 8 years, 9 years? It's not just been one thing. I mean, to be fair, they've been flip-flopping between different philosophies of managers and recruiting for different managers. So they were inconsistent for probably 6 or 7 years. I do think with Ole in the last 2 years, they've gone back to a better philosophy of signing players who can emerge, younger players. I do think they've got that bit right in the last couple of years. I just don't think they're smart enough and wise enough and agile enough in the market. I was reading on the way down here this morning that Liverpool have sold or they've accepted a bid for Ryan Brewster of £24 million from Sheffield United. Liverpool aren't just buying smart, they're selling smart. I look at Chelsea and I think they buy smart, they seem to sell smart over the last 15, 20 years. City, they spend a lot of money, but they get things done. They seem to get the deals done. Whereas United just don't seem to be able to get the deals done. Even with Harry Maguire last year, dragged on right the way to the end. Sancho this year. They just don't seem to be able to get deals over the line. They don't seem to be able to get things done efficiently, quietly. Liverpool all of a sudden, a week or so ago, they just announced Jota and Thiago. I know Thiago had been linked for a bit, but it's done for reasonable prices, 27 million, 40 million, no 90s and 100s. And so I just think they're not smart enough. They're being outwitted in the market by the other clubs. And if you lose recruitment, you don't win the league. Simple as that. Yeah, you can have a great coach, but if you don't get the right players, you're not going to win the league. And looking at Liverpool on Monday night in that game that you just referred to before, they're a different level than Manchester United, and they've only just got stronger. So how can Manchester United just sign one player this summer? They cannot just sign one player. They have to try and close that gap. They can't let that gap extend any further. Liverpool have got a great team, great squad now, and a great manager. How do you close that gap if you don't, invest towards it? And I know they have invested money in the last 9 years, but unfortunately, like you've seen with City, it doesn't stop. You have to keep competing year in, year out in the transfer market, and they're just not doing it.
So it's like Jadon Sancho, they've put in an official bid of the guts of €100 million, and it's rejected. I mean, I presume...
Honestly, the Sancho thing's embarrassing. I mean, it's been going on now for 4 months. It's embarrassing, that. And then to put a bid in that gets rejected, like I say, the smart clubs, they have the deal sorted behind the scenes. The agents are working hard. The club officials have agreed on things. And when the bid goes in, it's accepted and it's done. Who puts bids in nowadays that's not accepted? That doesn't happen that often. Very rarely. That's almost like, I know that Leeds did it with Ben White, but they knew the player with Brighton and they made bids for him to try and put pressure on probably. But generally, clubs now have the deal sorted. The agents know what the player's getting. The player knows what the club are getting. The club know what the other club are getting. I just don't understand it at all. It smacks of, I don't know. It's just not great. It's not great. And that's why I've been critical, because if Ole doesn't get Ole for me has a period of time to win the league. He's been there 1.5 seasons. This is his 3rd season. So this season, will he be expected to win the league? No. But maybe next season in his 4th, he'll probably have to win the league. He can't win the league. It's impossible to win the league against this Liverpool team this year, unless he gets 3 or 4 players that take him towards it. So you're essentially giving you're tying the manager's hands behind his back if you're not giving him the players he needs to win the league, but yet you're setting the target of him winning the league.
We maybe saw a hint of frustration this morning. He said something akin to, they know my view on transfers, as in the board know my view.
Yeah, I requoted that.
Yeah, that was where I saw that on Twitter, so you're aware. But that was significant enough, I thought.
I thought it was significant. I think that if Ole, who is a club man, he loves the club, he would never go rogue, says, the club know my view, that's as near to going rogue as you can get. But it's not going rogue. But he's just said, the club know my view. I took that as being a few words, but quite important ones. Maybe that's my journalistic hat. Maybe that's my journalistic hat.
Sancho is the answer. Are you? I think they've got their wide, flitty players. I think if you're going to spend over 100 million, surely it's a proper centre forward or a proper centre half you need, not another wide boy that can do a little bit here and there and score a goal here and there. You've got to have the finished article that's the main man, haven't you?
I must admit, I think Rashford can play wide. I think Martial can. I think Greenwood can, is what you're alluding to. I think James can. Probably Van der Beek can. I think even Paul Pogba could probably play in a sort of a wider midfield position if you wanted. And maybe Fernandes goes out. I must admit, if you said to me which players were, I think a forward is needed and I think a centre-back is needed. If they don't get a forward and a centre-back, they must get a centre-back. They have to get a centre-back.
Centre-forward though, Gaz. Centre-forward that scores goals.
It's who they could get. It's who they could get. Maybe
if you've got 100 million, I think you can get whoever you want at the moment. Maybe.
Teddy, maybe they're thinking that Mason Greenwood is a centre forward and Sancho would go right, and that Greenwood is the centre forward that would score 25, 30 goals in a couple of years.
But it's a couple of years. Ollie might not be there in a couple of years if that's the case. He needs something now. The finished article now.
Yeah.
So Gary, the ship has sailed on a Lindelof or Jones.
No, I don't think the ship has sailed on Lindelof. It's not a reflection on. We had David May, Henning Berg, Ronnie Johnson, and Jaap Stam. 4 brilliant centre backs. This idea that you sort of dismissing Victor Lindelof just because you're signing, let's say Virgil van Dijk, we're not obviously, but let's say we're signing Virgil van Dijk and he partners Harry Maguire. You still need Victor Lindelof. You still need Eric Bailly. You still need 4 centre-backs when you're playing 60 games a season. So this idea that we sign a centre-forward and it's the end of Martial, it's not the end of Martial. It just means Martial's got competition. It means he's got support, whichever way you want to look at it. So I don't see this either-or situation that exists when you want to sign a good player.
Do they need somebody who will come in and start those games alongside Maguire?
They should try and improve the starting 11. You're right there. Players that are signed should not be squad players. They should be players who go straight into the first team. They don't need any more squad players. They've got those.
Teddy, it's looking very much like Liverpool are going to win this league and comfortably at that.
Well, after 3 games, you're saying that?
Do you disagree?
No. I make you right. You only have to look at Liverpool and you look at the teams over the years, over the last 20, 25 years, and they are very strong at the back with a very good goalkeeper, solid in midfield, and players that can change a game up front. That's Liverpool at the top of the list. So I don't see anyone else other than Liverpool winning the league this year.
Gary, I don't suspect you disagree.
I actually said City before a ball was kicked because I thought City would respond. I thought Pep would respond. I thought they would do more in the transfer market. But seeing Liverpool against Chelsea and Arsenal live, and then seeing the fact they got Thiago and Jota added to that squad, I've changed my mind, and it will be Liverpool. I'd be amazed if it wasn't.